Alright, hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to episode 9 of The Island. I'm glad you're here with me. On this episode we are going to be fighting for our Sims right to party. What I mean by that, really lame intro, is that we are going to be building this hub of nightlife for the city. A lot of cities will have different areas where, there'll be bars and restaurants and entertainment and things like that. But normally I would say cities will have a main central heart of where there'll be a high concentration of those kinds of businesses. And that's what we're going to do in this episode. This will be the beating heart of the youth, as well as probably where all the most sketchy stuff goes down. I'm sure you all have these kinds of places if you live in a city. The places where you can go to the restaurant, you can go for just a drink after work. You can go to a nightclub, or you can go to a strip club. You could probably just get some ice cream like you've seen me put down on screen. But it's also the place where you'll see, 20-year-old girls on the side of the street just possibly throwing up because they've drunken too much. Where there's testosterone-fueled guys getting in arguments with bouncers, and maybe someone stabs someone, and there's always cops around because they know they need to monitor this place more on a Friday night, because that's just what happens. You get the kind of area that you mean. Fun place is what I would say it is. So it's really good to have this in the city. So people will come home from their jobs on Friday night, they'll take the metro and tram or bike out to this area. We're going to have to find some snappy name for the street that is off to say we'll go to such and such a place and get fucked up on a Friday night. That's what we're going to do. Put you along here on the beach where this pedestrian tram road is. As you saw in an earlier episode, when I created this residential district at the beginning, I created like a square, and then I just sort of built off there. And I imagine that originally where this tram road is, or where the pedestrian road is, was probably originally a regular road, and then over time it's probably been converted to a pedestrian-only street for the, because it's a place where a lot of pedestrians are. I know the place in my city where which is sort of what I'm thinking of when I am making these places. That's like the street where most of the nightlife goes on. It's kind of narrow, and there's a lot of people walking around, and there's cars. And to be honest, I think it would be much better if it was a pedestrian street. So I decided that, hey, this is my city, I'm going to make it a pedestrian street. And so there's places where there's cars and stuff, but these would be limited to just like during the day. So once it comes a certain time at night, or maybe even just on like Friday, Saturday, Sundays, then there would be no cars allowed, and trash pickup and that would only happen at night. So you see me on screen, I'm having a few issues with decals. For some reason they stopped working for a bit, and I had to reload the game. So you saw me just plopping down a bunch of stuff, and then nothing happened. I'm not sure why that was. With that Love Hotel, you also saw, it's one of those annoying buildings that comes with the car parks attached. So I actually had to go and convert it back into the procedural object. So now it doesn't work as anything, but it's there as the strip club in my mind, and that's what's really important. It's a little back alley area, which I always like. I always like doing these little, even like these more sketchy areas at the back here are always the parts where I particularly like to put little decals on the road with little cracks and have extra detail there for some reason. You see me here, I have a few issues where I plop down a building and then it changes into another building. We had that in a previous episode where the coffee shop changed, but I was having issues with that for a while. I never really understood quite how the Rico worked, because some buildings you plop down, like you can just search for, and you find them, you put them down, and they're fine. Some buildings they will upgrade and they'll change the model, which is annoying. And you see me, I'm putting through a bunch. I tried to go into Rico and just add a bunch of things to the as Rico buildings so that they wouldn't do that. But then it takes so long because there's so many of them, and Rico makes it really hard to. And you see there again that the restaurant just built itself up to another one. So I think if I just, what I end up doing is I just find them as like growables, because that's easier to find them as growables in the search bar. And then if you just check them to make them historic, I think that just prevents it from upgrading. So that seems like a pretty good workaround, I believe. So that original restaurant that I had in the middle here was deleted, so I had to find something else because I forgot what it was. So I ended up putting some down on another one here. So it was some restaurant, I think it was like an Asian one, and now it's like it'll be a Denny's is what it is. So you got the areas you got your Starbucks, you got your big chain restaurants, you got your fast food, you get the McDonald's, and you also got the nightclubs, the more trendy bars. There's probably like more trendy bars. In the real world, you go into a city, there's a bunch of trendy bars, but like in this, there's not really too many options on the workshop, right? It's not like hundreds of them, so you're gonna have to just inflate what you have to make it look like there's more. You saw earlier, I began this time lapse when there was none of those buildings from last episode there, and you saw after the time lapse that, or the slow motion footage that you saw after the B-roll, that now all of those buildings have popped up and arrived. So you can see like when I'm doing two different things at once, and I have to sort of piece an episode together from two different timelines. It can be a bit messy like that. These are just some cafes, some daytime businesses. So it's not all nightlife. There will be, of course, people who are coming here during the day and stuff. These are all all these buildings are obviously on the inside of this road layout. I will presumably be expanding and adding new stuff, because it's a bit of a hard line. Like there's a bunch of buildings, and then there's the tram tracks, and then there's just open beach and desert. I'll have to try and make that more naturally spill out into a beach area, where I can hopefully do a few more other cool restaurants or things, but make them a little bit less dense like this. It's just putting a few little offices around the place as well. Just I assume they wouldn't be entirely 100% just restaurants and that, so I'm just putting down a few offices and stuff. Have it a bit more mixed use, and I'm using the spawn point mod just to make sure that when deliveries come, they actually will come round to this back alley and drop stuff off there realistically. Again, these offices here in this corner, they upgraded and changed models, so I had to find something that worked for them. And using our tiny little invisible path to make these little paths in between the buildings that people would realistically take. This is Paddy's Pub. I'm not sure if it's actually modelled on the Paddy's Pub from It's Always Sunny. That's, I guess, probably the most famous Paddy's Pub. Alright. Unless it's based on, there is some other famous Paddy's Pub. But that it looks a little bit out of place. But, gotta have it. Plus, as I said, there's not that many options for restaurants or bars, so you gotta put down the ones you do have. Again, as with like these little back alleys, always like to put a little extra detail for some reason where the most shitty areas are. And some bike racks, so people can still bike their way over here, even if it's I guess if you're out for a night of eating and drinking and being merry, and I'm not sure about bringing people back to your house or whatever, but for the rest of it, you could take a bike, I assume. I've never gone out drinking and then biked home. Presumably you can still get arrested for that, I'm pretty sure. But I imagine the sentence is a lot less severe than if you're caught drunk driving. I'm pretty sure you don't kill people. So I'm sure it's good for everyone, even if you're going to be doing some drinking and partying, to still encourage biking. So lots of bike racks around. Definitely not advocating for it, but just saying it's probably the lesser of two evils. Got a another little, I got another fast food restaurant here. This big building, which I think is residential, I believe. I don't think it's just commercial. I think that is residential as well. And these little areas here that are like in between, that sort of connects the residential area to this area, I'm sort of making a bit more commercially, less bar and nightclubby. And there is a little bar there in the corner. I'm sure that'd be a really nice place to go for the residents after work. Go to this little corner bar and have a drink, and then go back to your units. That'd be such a good place to live. But in general, these will be a bit quieter, a bit. You got like a fast food place and some more shop things. That's still on the theme of this nightlife area. Like we've got a liquor store, we've got this small little Italian restaurant. I'm gonna put down an adult shop here. I feel like it's on theme for the area, but they're not quite nightclubs, because you sort of want to have a little buffer from that between those areas. And facing the actual residents, we'll just put some like regular shops. I had to put down an IHOP there, a house of pancakes, seeing as in my city or in the nightclub area, there's a pancake kitchen, and it's really good to go there on like midnight after you had some drinks and get like a banana split or just a stack of pancakes. I've done that and it's great. So when I saw an IHOP, I was like, yes, definitely need to have one there, because pancakes at night, it's 24-hour pancake kitchen, fantastic place to be. I like doing this little paving stone path here, which I did in between this building here, and I was able to even fit a little commercial place there. But then was able to do this little path, which is really cool. As I always say, I like when I can do little small little paths like that. Obviously the atmosphere isn't quite as good in Cities Skylines world as it would be in real life, hopefully. But maybe you can use your imagination to imagine that this would be an actually nice place to be when it's the hustle and bustle of a Friday night. Got some music, got some lights, got some interesting characters around. Great kind of vibes you want. Just a few small little buildings to make the back of that building look a little bit better. You can see I forgot to ban the cars there, so those aren't driving around. So you got to make sure you ban all commercial or private vehicles. I had a building there, which was, I forget what it was exactly, but for some reason I didn't like it. I think it was like just like a general store, but I didn't think that between the Unicorn Club and the strip club was the most appropriate place for it. So I tried to mix it up here. I put this bar here, and I really liked the way it fit, and I thought this little garden at the back where you could sit, that was, even though it was like facing out towards just like the back alley, I thought it was the place I could imagine being. But I do kind of have to make it fit, I can't just smush it into the Unicorn, so I'm sort of breaking the laws of physics, because now it's like both of them are now the same building, and in real life you kind of have to imagine that's not the case. So even though I tried to be quite detail and realistic orientated, for there I was just like, I can't really fit it, but I kind of want these two buildings, so now they share a building, even though that wouldn't be the same. That wouldn't make much sense. Or maybe it would. Maybe they are actually the same building, and your perception of it is entirely based on just what you think it is from the outside. It could be a social experiment, or that could be bullshit, and I just smushed two buildings together and pretended that they're two separate ones. But whatever, either way. I had this little burger place, and I wanted to move that little French bakery / restaurant that I had there for a second. I wanted to move that somewhere else. So I had to find something else, and I found this super cute little Japanese restaurant. And it was like a little classical Japanese style, and it able to fit right here with this tiny little garden at the back. And it was absolutely fantastic. I think this is one of my favorite things I've built for this city. It's definitely my favorite thing for this whole area. It's so cool just having that tiny little cute classic Japanese looking place with a little garden behind with little plants. And I love the juxtaposition of having that next to the Pride Unicorn Club. Just fantastic. So big fan of that place. I would 100% love to eat. Those buildings, again, they didn't, I'm not sure if they disappeared or if they just decided to change them up. But anyway, I've changed them up to this Asian commercial grocery, not grocery, just commercial and like general store-ish vibes here. I thought this kind of made sense being backed up to this more dirty alley. And then I was able to put that French restaurant, I think it's actually a bakery, but I'm pretending a French restaurant, back here again. And I was able to put some seating out. I probably would actually like to put some more seating on the actual streets and that. These pedestrian streets I chose them because they're quite thin, but they also lead to, I can't really put stuff on the street itself because there's not too much room. Because I know in some areas where there's like a lot of bars and restaurants in my city, they've, closed off some streets, and at nights they, the restaurants and bars will put out tables on the street itself. So, the whole 2-lane street is just tables and people having fun and having drinks and being able to mingle, and it can get a bit, crowded in that. And I don't really get that vibe for any places I've done here. So maybe if there's an area, maybe somewhere else where I can have a street, like proper 2-lane street, which I can then close off and then have tables and that for the restaurants around it on the street itself. As this used to be a car street and we've changed it up. We've converted this to be a place for people to be able to gather for leisure time instead, which is much cooler. This I actually showed a time lapse of this in the last episode. So I found it in my footage. I was like, oh, I forgot to do that. It's actually, I did it while I was making this other area, so I'm just including it here. I want to have some trees here in this middle bit. And what I'm doing here is I'm putting down trees, and I'm going down to first person mode. And like I've said before, I am imagining, if I'm standing here, what does this make sense? I try these big trees, I try the small trees that were really dense, and I end up you have to try a few different ways before you can get down on the level and you'd be like, yes, this is what I can imagine seeing in a city. This is what I quite like. And here you saw there was a huge crowd gathering outside this building. I think that's just an issue with the mod, where residents, instead of going inside, they just gather at the front. So there's a huge collection there. So I just had to put this building in the front to make it look less weird and like a zombie apocalypse. And it ended up looking quite nice anyway. So it worked out pretty well. Again, just anywhere that there's spare concrete, love to pop down some flooring. Makes it look way better. I was talking about before, so this is a place that's actually facing onto the apartment buildings, so didn't want a bar or anything, so just doing it's like a farm product, so I'm guessing it's like a health food shop and a bit of a corner store, grocery store, you could say, one of those kinds of things, which is, I might want to make sure there's always one of those around any residential areas. This is now had this undercover big bit here where I think maybe it's supposed to be a drive-through, even though it doesn't function as one. I guess maybe I haven't been to an In-N-Out, so I don't know, but figured that's maybe what's supposed to be. Maybe I'll put some tables there though when I get back into the game and make that as a place to sit, seeing as it's not actually functioning as a drive-through in game or anything. Again, just wanted to have an actual little back alley back here, so all these buildings will actually get deliveries at the back, and that looks just a little bit more realistic and compact to me, which I quite like. I just had a random hit of inspiration where for some reason I thought of this area and I was like, oh, I need to put some bicycle parking, because people could bike from wherever they are and then get to the metro station and go from there. So I had to put down some bike parking. I don't know sure why this came to me all of a sudden, but it did. I'm not sure, if people are coming from the block of the units, which I was doing last episode, they'll have, it will be quite annoying to cross the road, so maybe I have to do, a pedestrian overpass for them sometime. always little things like that, which I'm always, whenever I come back and look at footage, I think I really need to change something about this area. So I'll have to come do go back to other areas and rebuild things that or just do little touch-ups to a bunch of areas already done at some point. As you can see, I downloaded a bunch of these Pride flag assets. Seemed like the area, if you're ever going to do one, this is where it would be. So I put down these like Pride pedestrian crossings, which makes no sense because this is a pedestrianised road. But whatever, it looks kind of good. If there's ever a place to put it, it's going to be there. So put some Pride flags outside the unicorn, obviously. Got to have them there, if anywhere. And you don't see me do this very often. I'm actually going into the game at night because it's much easier to build during the day, and trying to do some lighting for this. Some of these lights, like that one, they're facing upwards, which annoys me, so I deleted those, but I mean they still look good from up above, so maybe I'll put those back at some point. But there are a lot of lights sometimes where they're lights that I want to use, but they're like facing the wrong direction and you can't change your orientation, like they're pointing straight upwards or they're pointing like left or something, which is a bit annoying. So that's why I deleted those ones, but maybe I will go back and try and with everything, whenever I see the footage back, I'm like, I feel like I could just do something a little bit different, take another look. I'm sure there's something that I could be happy with, because I was struggling a bit here with the lighting, like how light do you want it, how bright do you want it. There's some which are too dull, a lot which are way too bright. Because it's a pedestrian area, you want yellow lighting mostly. Like you don't want too yellow, but you don't want, like, white light is better for cars, it's a lot safer, but yellow light is much easier on the eyes. So I wanted to have more yellow lights, but finding one that's just like the right style and has just the right amount of luminance is just a bit difficult. Here I'm just trying to find some colored lights to add some more variety to the area. A lot of them were not bright enough, but then others were too bright, and it's hard again just to get like vibes around a place that I want. You'll see me, I tried to do some like Pride lighting on one of the 5 a.m. nightclub here. You see I put down like a few different types and it just blows out because it's way too bright, so it's not even remotely possible. So I'm going to have to end up just sticking with one. Maybe I could add like a couple around the place, but really I think I have to try and get a bit more creative with the lighting, because I wasn't able to get it to really a place that I was really happy with the how bright it was. But I did in the end it is more lit up and a bit more realistic, and looks better, I would say. So but you always feel like you can always go back and add something to somewhere, and it's really about trying to find the place that you're happy with to say, okay, I'm just going to move on and not spend forever detailing, because I'm sure I'll come back and I'll change a few things, and maybe I will at some point, but it's just at some point you have to say I did a good job and just leaving it at that for now. I'm just going to do a couple last touch-up things, add a few more lights and stuff like that. But then once I'm done with that, just a couple more extra little detailing bits and bobs. I think that's it for this episode. So I'll say goodbye. Enjoy the slow motion B-roll at the end, and hopefully I will see you in the next episode when we start the Central Business District, the actual proper city itself. I hope you tune in for that one. See ya.